What up, what up, what up? What's going on, people? It is the Jenn and Molly show. What's going on? Oh, man, I got it wrong again. Why do I always got to get it wrong? What's up, Jenn?
Hi.
How you living today, Jenn?
Pretty good. You know, it's a Thursday.
Yeah, well, is it?
Yeah.
Seriously, though, like, is it Thursday?
I think so.
Woo, I got it right that time. Boom, boom.
It was a snow day yesterday, so we didn't go live.
I know.
We were working, though.
I worked from home all day. I just wasn't trying to be out there in that mess, like, messing with everybody.
I walked 1.5 miles in the
Dude,
snow.
that's pretty good. In the snow?
I had wet hair, so
What do you your mom?
my
Like, what's going on right now?
My grandma would probably say that I would catch a cold, but that's an old maid's tale. Is that what it's called?
I mean, that's not a nice thing to say about your grandmother.
She's great.
So, forgive me while I'm looking at my phone. I'm trying to start a watch party here, and then my volume's going to be up. So, anyway, you know, it's kind of hard to, like, run technology and talk to people at the same time. It's hard.
Well, I'm doing this. I'm just sharing it. Should I do a watch party?
I'm doing a watch party.
All right. I'll do a watch party. Start watch party. Coming at you live.
Coming at you live. All right. And then that way, maybe we'll get a comment. Maybe somebody will ask us a question. Maybe somebody will chime in and tell us.
We're going to get
wrong.
there. Not quite yet, you know?
One day at a time.
One day at a time. It takes time, as we know.
Indeed. All good
So
things.
what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about fake shit, yo.
Hackers?
Hackers, man. It's a problem. It's a real big problem, you know?
It's seeping into now podcasts.
It is. Well, you know, so like there's been a lot of conversation around this lately. I was talking with Brandon, one of my associates, and he was talking about how like the whole influencer market is just like hacked and like how so much of it is fake and how like he gave me this specific example. He was like, yo, like money's not real. He's like, it's not even real. Like it just transfers from one account to the other. Like one influencer is paying another, who's paying another influencer, and it just like goes down this chain. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, everything is super hacked. Like there's this girl who has like a Spotify playlist and a Spotify account, and she has like hundreds of thousands of like followers on her Spotify account. And so underground artists pay her a lot of money, and then she'll put their music on. Hey, it's Jennifer Crawford. She'll put their music on a Spotify playlist, and because she has like millions of followers or whatever it is, like then that artist will get a bunch of plays. Right. So Brandon was like,
interesting. Yeah.
So Brandon was like, well, let me check this out. So he like looked her up and he went on her Instagram. And he's like, bro, what are you talking about? She only has like 3,000 followers. And he was like, no, you got to go on her Spotify. So then he looks on her Spotify and it's like, she has millions of followers. And then she's hyping up like these unknown underground artists who now have like millions of plays, and now they're getting like record deals and all this shit is happening. But like all those followers are not real. Like it's all boosted numbers. Like she paid to get like fake Spotify numbers. So now like, yes, it's getting plays, but they're not
Spotify,
real accounts.
That's like interesting, man. I didn't think about, I really just think about, for me on Spotify, I have my playlist that like, maybe there's like 2 or 3 people following it. I mean, I know that like those are big, but I mean, like, this is like a whole different, it's a whole different channel. Remember Tower Records?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk music industry for a hot second. I mean, quite frankly, I think it's interesting because iTunes, you know, I think that Spotify is better than iTunes for all music. I think iTunes and Spotify are neck and neck for 2 things, music and the podcasts, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was Spotify acquisition of Gimlet. I mean, we're in the now for this. This is really big.
Yeah, it's
and
super
then
big.
we're throwing in the hackers. I mean, they Instagram. I think hackers really started with Twitter. You know, Twitter, you got all those fake followers, right?
Right.
Then you went on to Instagram.
Well, Twitter and Facebook at the same time. I'm pretty sure.
Facebook, I think, was a little harder to get the fake followers.
I mean, I don't know. I fell for it like back in the day, like on an old One Love Massive account. I went through this like girl PR thing, and I didn't realize that I was like buying it was before people even started talking about that. And so like I went through their program and I got a bunch new like likes on the account, but then they were all in the Philippines and shit. And I ended up shutting down that Facebook account anyway and starting a new one.
Right.
So now like none of those, but like it was before I really fully understood what was going on, you know? Same thing with Twitter. Like we had to do like a complete purge of it. So now it's like every single one of our followers is like 100% legit, you know? It's like our YouTube subscribers. Apparently you can hack that too. Apparently you can buy YouTube subscribers.
Oh, you can, because then you can monetize. I mean, but at the end of the day, well, now everyone's cracking down. I mean, Instagram, you saw the thing about, I think it was like Selena Gomez, one of the music artists, because Instagram's cracking down even more on taking out fake followers. So I think she lost like 2 million followers overnight or something.
Shit.
Looks like Selena's buying those followers.
Well,
Fake news.
yeah, I have like a former client that went from like 100,000 subscribers to like 370,000, and I'm like, right.
I love when I was talking to some people, like just influencers, if you will, and they're like, no, I mean all my followers are real. I'm like, really? Because I looked up your account, because you can look up people's accounts and see how many are fake or not.
Right.
Just say it. It's like you're talking to someone who does this for a living. Okay, you could say it.
Right. Well, and you can tell. So like, we were reading this article earlier talking about like how podcast stats are now being faked and like the problem with that. Or just like kind of breaking it down, like actually how that happened.
This chart, it was a beautiful chart.
It is a beautiful chart.
Yeah. It was kind of overwhelming me, honestly. I didn't get through the whole article.
Where is it? Oh yeah.
Oh, here it is.
How spammers are gaming the podcast charts. I mean, and so they bring up this example of bulletproof real estate and how they just like came out of nowhere and then like cranked it up all of a sudden, and they were like #1 on Apple Podcasts in December or in October, and like over Serial and over Joe Rogan. And then like a week later they adjusted it, and then they like dropped him back down, and Joe Rogan was back up. So like,
yeah, but at the same time, that's shady. It's obviously shady. What do it's kind of like you pushed the gas pedal a little too hard. Like you wanted to make it more realistic, that you should have done, maybe bought a little less subscribers.
Right. Yeah.
Like stay within your lane, stay in your industry. Don't go on top of Joe Rogan show. That's like
yeah, like what are you trying to do? And then they really go into like how a lot of these shows are in this one sphere and they're all recommending each other, and it talks about, I mean, it's really interesting. It's just really interesting, the whole thing, and like how different groups, like the most popular groups are in like one cluster, and then like these other shows are in their own cluster that just seems to be like hella incestuous. It's like they're all recommending each other, but they're not recommending the main ones.
Yeah.
And they're like totally disconnected. And so, so what they talk about is like how to spot a fake. So like, that's, I think, a really valid question, right? Especially in this era of like, everybody is so focused on how many downloads. Now, after creating content for the last lot of years, but it's in particular digital content like on YouTube and Facebook, and like really examining those numbers and like seeing like, we would do Back to the Go-Go broadcast, like an hour-long go-go band, and we would get like 30,000 impressions and 10 to 15,000 views, or 10,000 views like in an hour, like before the end of the broadcast.
Organic.
Complete, yeah, because you can't put an ad on anything until it's over. So like this would literally be happening while it was happening. But I would sit, like, what people don't know is during those broadcasts, I mean, it would take like 6 staff members like to run these things. Like it was a lot of fucking work. And so not only were we focused on making it sound good and having like everybody mic'd up and all that shit set up, but then we also like had to have a second engineer who was upstairs in another soundproof room listening to the feed on Facebook, so that, the end user experience is what the engineer was focused on. So then the second engineer would communicate with the first engineer. We'd keep a Slack channel open on a separate device, and we had a tech comm channel, so it's like anytime we needed to be like, yo, the hi-hats are too low, or turn our vocals up, or whatever, because it didn't matter what the engineer was hearing. Right. It mattered what was being heard on Facebook. Then at the same time, I would be at a desk with like 2 or 3 other people with our laptops, and I would literally have, I'm not shitting you, like 70 tabs open
Oh, because you're engaging and stuff too.
So I would go
yeah.
on Facebook, and I belonged to every single music group that
And
there
you
was,
post
like
it
around the
yep.
world, like world music groups, go-go groups, like DC group, like anything, right? Anything that could be relative to go-go at all, or world music, or congos, or drums, or anything like that, right? And so I would go in as soon as they would go live, and I would go to every single
And
one of
post
those
a
groups,
link.
and I would open up a tab, and I would open up all the tabs, and then I would go back, and I would take my text, and I would copy and paste it, and I would drop it in, and then I would hit share, and I would wait a second, then I would close that tab, I'd go to the next tab, I'd drop the text in, I'd hit share, I'd wait a second, and I would do that for a fucking hour. For an hour, I would sit there. And then in between sharing in the groups, I also had the video open, and I would like every single comment. Mind you, we would get over 2,000 comments on every broadcast.
See,
Minimum.
that's the magic formula. That's the magic. That's how to do it.
That's how we got it done.
But that's how you do it. And it takes work. I mean, it takes an army for digital. I think that's the best use case study that, I quite frankly tell my clients all the time. It's not, some of this stuff you can automate, but you can't automate engagement. It's not the same.
No.
And that's why you have all those tools out there, with you post something, there's that, you can post a picture on Instagram, you get all those likes, or that,
Right.
you can, that's all BS. It's BS. And I think this goes back to even that episode of A Dose of Your Future with Kelly Miller, where we're talking about how to build a community organically. And that's not going to change. That's going to always remain the same. Although what's cool now is that, we can broadcast. I mean, we're broadcasting to do two different, my Facebook page,
Right.
your Facebook page. I mean,
One Love YouTube, One Love Facebook, Heartcast YouTube, Heartcast Facebook. It's crazy. We're everywhere.
The multi-platform streaming.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
But for real. So it's kind of interesting. So in talking about like how to spot a fake, like how do you tell when like something is not real, like when some numbers are boosted? And the answer is exactly what you just said, engagement. If you want to know if something is fake or not, it's engagement. And they really break it down how like, the Bulletproof Real Estate has 53 ratings, only 53 ratings, but apparently they've had like millions of plays. And then Dr. Death, which is like also a number one, has 32,000 ratings.
Right.
So it's like, how are you? Okay, so you're number one on the podcast charts and you only have 53 ratings? That doesn't make any sense, like at all. Like if you have that many, and that's the thing. It's like, you don't end up with 2,200 comments on an hour-long broadcast with fake people. And then not only was I liking comments, I was like sad facing certain comments, laughing certain comments, hearting certain comments.
Hearting.
I was like
all the emojis.
All the emojis, you know what I mean? I was throwing in like the dancing lady. I was like chopping it up. And, I mean, I was literally just like moving the whole time. I was like an operator from back in the day. Like, you remember from Ms. Maisel, like the switchboard operator?
Hey, Ms.
Like,
Maisel was the best one.
That was me, dude. That was literally me. I was like, thank you for calling. Like, it was nuts. Like, I had to engage constantly. And I mean, I would literally post in like 140 groups and comment, like respond to every single comment. But I mean, we would get 30,000 impressions organically.
It is a great rush.
Organically, And then I never promote. Then when it was over, we would jump right back into the next broadcast. So I never once ever pushed that content ever again, because it was like literally like, okay, we got to we had one room. That was our podcast studio and our live music stage.
Oh, I think I've seen footage of that.
For sure. So like this table and this setup was in the same room that those bands were. So every time we had a band, we would have to disassemble all these microphones, rerun all these cords, take the table, push it to the back, put it on its, like, turn the other table we worked on its side, like, take it down, put it against the wall, push this table back, take chairs and put them upstairs to get them out of the way because it was the tiniest room. And then we'd do, like, a go-go band with, like, 15 dudes in the room, and they would leave, and then we'd have to put it all back because the next morning we would have a podcast on this table in the same room. I mean, it was a nightmare. It was so much work that we never even had time to then, like, push that content again later. So every single play...
But you didn't need to. It's all about the live, man.
And every single view, every single play we have. You can also
run an ad on it, and then just that's...
Exactly. So, like, all those views on YouTube, all that is, like, completely organic. That's from, like, people being suggested that content. That's from the traffic that we got. So yeah. Oh, so we have a comment. The struggle is getting organic stats, especially when you're live. Yeah, I mean, you just really got to push. You know, the watch parties are super helpful. Resharing the content afterwards,
consistency too. I mean, like,
right?
It's consistency. It takes time as well.
100%. And I mean, you got to produce good content. Like, if people don't want to hear what you're saying, like, they're not going to tune in. That's just all there is to it. You know?
People are going through micro moments throughout the whole day, is that they'll tune in for a second, but like, not tons of people have 30 minutes on their time, like 30 minutes during the day to just like watch something.
Exactly.
You know, so.
And that's another thing that they like touch on in this article is like, how do you like, what do you consider a listen? So I started to say earlier, like after producing so much content and like really focusing on the numbers and like what it means, like it's crazy how many views are like 3-second views. Like they show you the stats of like how many people, and like a view is considered anything over 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like the average viewer is like 30 seconds. So it's nuts. Like when you look at the One Love Massive like stats on the back end, like our average watch time is like over 10 minutes, which is like fucking legendary, you know? But it's because of the long form content that we're creating. But then you can go on our Facebook stats and YouTube stats, and I mean, it's an astounding number of people like only watch for like 3 seconds.
Well, YouTube though, you're gonna go on YouTube. You're going to YouTube to watch long form content. Facebook, if you're scrolling through the feed to capture someone to actually list, like to really like tune in, they're on that platform to scroll and see their news and in between.
Right.
YouTube, people go on to consume long form content. So you're going to get obviously more minutes viewed on that platform.
For sure, for sure. Oh, so Mark Toller is also saying that like the crappy part about hosting watch parties is comments on the watch party don't show up on the fan page. Yeah, you know, Mark, that's an interesting comment because, you know, I was thinking about that. Like right now we're pushing this out to lots of networks so that we can like reach more people. But like maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe we'll want to put everybody on one.
On one.
And focus
well, at the
that
same
in.
time, too, is like I can't see that, right? Because I'm
Right, 'cause
looking
it's on my watch
page.
party.
Right. And I don't know. Maybe
My
we
watch
want to.
party's better than your watch party.
It is. You have 5. I don't really know how many I have right now. Maybe people like you more. Maybe they liked your status today. They had, you know, they're having a great day and they want to watch Molly.
Oh, and then Nick Romero, my homie, my number one. Hey, it says it pays off to do good promo before the streaming as well. That was definitely one thing that was pretty consistent with Back to the Go-Go and stuff like that, is that like, you know, everybody knew it was every Wednesday. Like they knew what to expect. When we were late, they were like, yeah, where are you?
It's the consistency.
For sure. He says, I go crazy and invite everyone to the watch party, and I get tons of people who come in from the invite and then dip out. But like you said, it still counts as a view. Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why I think when we're talking about sponsorship and podcasts, like there's a lot of talk about how the most effective way to do that. But I think that because of that, the best way to like appease your sponsor requirements is to like in the very first line of your podcast, say this episode is brought to you by my sponsor, and then the very first line of text is this episode is brought to you by my sponsor, and keep it moving, because like if you put your sponsor ad in the middle of your broadcast, no one's gonna see it, you know. No one's gonna see it.
That's the value add, is that you put it in the front, so it's like, all right, if you keep it moving, then at least they saw it in the first 3 seconds.
Okay, he says, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do the same with mine too. We're testing all this with our weekly podcast. You guys crush the go-go for sure. Thanks, man. Oh shit, what's up, Deacon Izzy? What's up in the hizzo? He was on one of the Back to the Go-Go's. But yeah, man, so you know, it's just an interesting topic, and I think at the end of the day, like, you know, my biggest message, like my biggest takeaway is like, fuck the stats, fuck your downloads, none of that matters. Fuck that. Are you here? Like, you know what I mean? Like if a Back to the Go-Go, if it was an excellent like musical experience,
yep,
and 5,000 people watched it versus 15,000, does that make the content any less valuable? No, like it's bullshit. You know what I mean? And you know what? Like the 5,000 people that watch it, like really watched it and watched the whole thing and like shared it with other people. Like that's more valuable to me. Like I think everybody's way too focused on like how many likes did it get, how many downloads did it get? Like fuck your downloads.
That's what I tell clients, quite frankly, because it's not vanity metrics anymore. It's quality over quantity.
Right.
What result are you getting from that? You
right.
know?
Right.
Exactly. And that's the same thing for me with my podcast. I rather have the halo marketing effect where you have a influencer, no, but more so a thought leader,
right,
you know, who has an influence on social, has that, you know, brand, and then they share it out, pump it out to their networks. That's valuable.
Right.
I don't care about likes. I got over that like maybe last year. I was like more all about the likes, and now I'm like,
Right.
fuck that.
No.
Did I just say the F word the first time on
Oh, shit. Uh-oh.
That's
I don't
inappropriate.
see anybody coming and bang down the door to drag you away. I think we're all right, man.
Jillian, earmuffs.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. She can't hear anything anyway. Yeah, man. So, well, I don't want to take people's time too much up because, we'll be back again tomorrow morning. I just want to put it out there. I was late this morning. We're supposed to be going live at 8:30.
Your sandwich got cold.
And my sandwich got cold because I was in the Via Lyft death spiral from hell this morning. Shout out to public transportation.
What, mine was $5.
I spent like $27 fucking on transportation to get here this morning, and that was before I even left my house. Like, I'm over it, but I take full responsibility because it was my decisions that led me to choose those methods of transportation that let me down this morning. So, if you're listening, do not give your money to Via. Do not ride Via. Do not get the pass.
Ooh.
Do not do it. Via, ride with Via. Never again, you fucking bastards. Anyway, enough of that. So I take responsibility for being late, but tomorrow morning we'll be back in
Early.
black
We have a 9
at
a.m.
8:30.
8:30,
We're
okay.
going live for real at 8:30 tomorrow morning because we got a 9 a.m. appointment.
Yeah, we do.
With the Biscuit Queen.
Yes.
So anything else, Jen? You'd like to leave would you like to leave us with a joke?
Morty!
One of these days you're gonna have a joke.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay, I got a joke. How do you get a tissue to dance?
You blow on it.
Put a little boogie in it. All right.
I'm going to be the jokester, okay? I'm the comedian.
3 opportunities I've given you, and you've come up with nothing. At least I had something. No, all right, kids. Well, I'm going to go ahead and finish it off with these fancy-ass logos of ours. And, yeah, man, we appreciate all of you. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, and we'll catch you.
8:30.
We'll catch you bright and ugly. See you, kids.